There we go.
All right, now we're live for real. All right, well, this presentation is entitled Supporting Mental Wellness During the Holidays. And I want to thank Renee's crew for putting the PowerPoint together and the bulk of the information. And so we're ready to move forward here, Renee. So, here's the presenters. We talked about that. Glad to be doing another presentation with Renee. So, I love this piece of, you love research. Whenever you do a presentation, you always like to start off with a little bit of data or prevalence information. And according to the American Psychological Association, you can see this 38% of people reported that their stress increased during the holiday season due to a lack of time, need for things to be perfect, money worries, gift-giving pressures, travel hassles, and get-togethers. And when you have these feelings and the stress, it can lead to illness, depression, anxiety, and substance misuse, which a piece of that's a negative coping skill. But all of these are issues that you can develop coping strategies for, you can manage if you have the right skills. So that's one of the things we want to talk about today. And I know it's to me at the holiday time, and I see it myself even in my own household. You can see people start to elevate their stress. They think about what needs to be done. And, it's if we can manage that, keep it low key, we can get things done and still make it a peaceful, fun loving season of the year. The holidays can be fun. So there's, there are ways to decrease the stress and enjoy the season. So what we want to do today is we want to talk about 10 tips for conflict resolution. And I have to chuckle a little bit about that because you're talking about the holidays and you're throwing in conflict resolution skills. But we're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about emotional regulation, which I love talking about. And then building resilience.
If you do right or left.
And then we will, at that point, I'm going to do those first three, and then we'll turn it over to Renee to talk about seasonal affect disorder, self-care for the holidays, and then resources for mental merry making. So let's talk about these 10 tips for conflict resolution. And I love that, just in case. But, number one there, this is just classic talk here, but stop and think before you respond. When I do resiliency presentations, I always love to talk about emotional reaction patterns and responses. And and sometimes, this stuff, but we can, before we think, we can react and say something. And then once you've said it, you can't take it back. So it's the same thing if you do it on an email or that kind of thing. But, anytime something's going on, it's important to try to keep your calm, stop, think about what you're going to say, think about what your reactions, what you're feeling, and then think of an appropriate response. Maybe even say it to yourself before you say it. Just keep yourself in that happy place before you respond. And that can help set a tone right there for the group and for yourself. Number two there is reframe negative thoughts before speaking. I always like talking about carrying those positive emotions with you wherever you go. Try to live in those positive emotions, find the positive in what's going on. And, anytime something goes on and you're thinking about there's a negative thought, try to put it in check, reframe it, massage it around, get it out of there, turn it into something positive, then speak. And you like to keep that sense of humor, stay on the bright side. And I really tie that into keeping those positive emotions and avoiding negative thinking, but it ties together big time. But keep that sense of humor and try to laugh things off sometimes. And choose your battles. If you know there's going to be some confrontation, differences that families or friends may have, and you can anticipate that stuff. You've probably experienced it with them in the past. So be prepared ahead of time for one thing, and that's a second piece there. But choose when you want to respond and how you want to respond, and that way keep it all settled and appropriate. Prepare for possible conflicts. I always like to think, what might go on, what's possible. Sometimes anything's possible. What's probable, we know from our experience with family or friends. And so, be the leader, take the high road, and be prepared, and handle it appropriately and in a positive way. Timing is everything. You don't want to blurt things out all the time around people and make an explosion. So settle down, take it aside, and handle it. Okay, Renee. And then 6, refuse and defuse. I like the verbiage that comes in here. So, and I like diffusing. Refuse to engage, refuse to get involved, or have your what's the thing? You pull the chain or ring your bell. It's don't let that happen. And it's easy to say. I don't mind saying it's easy to say, because sometimes you get rolling along, you think things are the way it should be, and you feel comfortable with it, and somebody slides in a little surprise. So you always have to look over your shoulder a little bit and be prepared. But just diffuse anything that goes on, minimize it, divert it. Do all those things that keep it from exploding. So and then attack the problem, not the person. It's like if you manage people or staff or anything, but you're talking about issues, not people. So you don't want to make it personal. You don't want to attack the person, their qualities, their characteristics. Here's an issue. This is what we need to look at. Let's handle this, and it'd be nice if we did that, come up with some solutions, and then always negotiate based on your interest. What's important to you? What are you trying to accomplish? What are the goals that you're looking at on a big picture? And negotiate from there. And this is a beauty here. View conflict as an opportunity. When there's differences, sometimes you make sure you listen to the other person's side, understand what's going on, and then maybe there's something to be learned there. And if there's not, then stick to your ground, make your comments, do it in a positive way. But it's an opportunity, and learn to grow and interact together and become healthy if everybody is interested in the same theme there. And then this meditate, don't litigate. I don't mind telling you, I looked up, I like looking up words, definitions, and, litigate is take it to a court of law. So it's, we don't have to get into a legal debate, and we're not a prosecutor or a defense attorney and all that stuff, stating your case. Meditate on stuff, calm down, and keep the flow going on what's important. So most importantly here, control those emotional reaction patterns and stay calm. So this emotional regulation, what is it? How does it work? Let's talk about that a little bit. So, some information. Emotional regulation is taking any action that alters the intensity of an emotional experience. It refers to the ability to effectively exert control over our emotions through a wide range of approaches. Now, I got to tell you, I don't know if you guys remember, But when I do my resiliency presentation, I always have this chart, and I tell people, copy this slide and put it on a wall, because when something goes on, we react and respond in a variety of ways. And really it's about emotional regulation, because you can get, something goes on, you can get angry, look at it as a challenge, stress, adversity. Someone says something. So how you respond could be, you get angry, you blow up. And, there's a great example of no emotional regulation. You just blow it out. And then you've got a big problem. You got to clean up after that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do this or that. You can just bury it, go numb, never say anything about it. And, when that happens, it makes you upset inside, the tension's in there, and and that's where depression and anxiety can arise. You can express your feelings in a useful way. Pick, like I talked about, the 10 tips, pick the right time, look at what's important to you, think about it, and then express what you're feeling in a useful way so people can understand what you're feeling and going on. Don't make yourself the victim. But once you do that, you can begin to do those coping strategies. So you can see this emotional regulation is really the foundation to handling any issue and moving forward. So with emotional regulation skills, you can influence which emotions you have. Hey, I'm not going to blow up. I'm not going to bury it. I'm going to express my feelings in a useful way where people can understand it. And, I'm going to pick the right time to do that. So you can influence which emotions you have, the intensity of them, and how you express them. Very important. So how does it relate to emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. And so think of emotional regulation as the technical skills that can enhance emotional intelligence. So, I love this. It's a time of year, it's a holiday time. Let's rejoice. Emotional regulation is a skill that can be learned and improved over time. If you slip in there, don't beat yourself up. I'm a big supporter of positive self-talk. Don't beat yourself up. Help build your own self-esteem and make changes. So when something goes on, analyze it. What could I have done different? Could I do that better? Don't beat yourself up. Learn, grow. All of this stuff can be practiced and improved over time. And please pat yourself on the back when it goes well, when you're using it and moving in the right directions. Hey, I feel good about that. In the past, I might have done this. I kept calm. I thought about it. I used those emotional regulation skills and set the right tone and the right foundation for an interaction that's positive and an experience that is healthy. So, how does it work? And I don't mind saying this. I love this list here because I use what we're talking about for the holiday season. I actually use it when I do counseling and work with someone to make changes in interaction, relationship building, and that kind of thing. But identify and reduce triggers. It's important for anybody to, when you talk about that chart, I said, what can get you angry, what can make you go numb? Triggers. And one of the biggest triggers I've ever seen is when people feel like they're not understood. No one understands what I'm feeling, what I think, what I need. And that can work people up. But identify your personal triggers. And when you identify them, come up with strategies on how to control them, how to react to them, how to manage them. And so, and so here it is, tune into physical symptoms. When something goes on, notice what you're feeling. What's my body telling me? What's it doing to the way I'm thinking and my mood? And, put a name to what you feel. And so, consider the story you were telling yourself. What's going inside? what's my mind telling me? And let me understand that and try to manage it and effectively deal with it in a positive way and engage in that positive self-talk. It's amazing how those positive emotions, the positive self-talk, you can coach yourself through the stuff if you practice it, and it works. You can manage these triggers and situations and responses and set the tone. So how does it work? Make a choice about how to respond. Look for those positive emotions. And, I want to, before I go to this thing about the therapist, I want to go back to, and I mentioned it, developing those healthy coping skills. When something is a trigger, something's bothering you, lay out the strategy. This is where the work begins. I'm feeling this way. It's happened before, or what can I do? How do I move forward and do this in a healthy way? Lay out the strategy of how to do it, how to get allies, how to make the right moods. When you feel those moods, what to do about them, who will listen to you. Come up with the strategies, things you can do to calm yourself down and make the right steps forward. And then, if you're really struggling, let's get real. There are times where we need to talk to a professional. That's not that's a good thing. So if you have some significant difficulties with it, you need some help, they can coach you, they can help you with the moods, they can talk to you and give you options. So seek out a therapist. It's a good thing. So, I I got to tell you, I'm going to try something here, but when I was looking at this, the meditation made easy. I like this. Take 3 deep breaths. You can do it now if you want. Take a deep breath. Let it out. Do it slowly. Take another one. Let it out. Take a deep breath. Let it out. And then have that motivational mantra. And I got to tell you, Renee, I don't want to blow the mood, but I went immediately to that Seinfeld where serenity now. If you've ever seen that show, so you breathe in a serenity now, and then take those 3 deep breaths. Let it out. Take another breath and let it out. Take another deep breath and let it out. I don't mind telling you, I do this stuff. Whenever I feel some tension, I just take those deep breaths. I just get a positive thought in my head. What do I want to do? Where am I headed? What am I trying to accomplish? Let's be calm. What do I like? What do I love? And then let it out. Have those positive thoughts. So anyway, I think it helps big time. So practice that stuff. There's a lot to meditation, mindfulness, these strategies that you can learn. And there's groups around. There's people that do this and help with it. So don't be afraid to explore it, read about it, and practice it. It can work. So, me, some people call me the resilience man, but I like to talk about building resiliency as something I embrace and I live. I believe in it and do a lot of talks about it. So let's talk about a few tips for building resiliency. How to build resilience. What are you think about qualities and characteristics of resilient people? They know how to stay connected. They know where their allies are. They build healthy relationships, and they don't mind having these interactions where, hey, we're going to put what we're feeling on the table. I'm going to understand you. It'd be great if you understand me. You make that connection. So it's a go-to place, and you're around people that can do that, and you can make that happen. Nothing better than being understood and having someone listen to. So you build those healthy relationships, stick to them. They can carry you through a lot of distress and strain. There's no doubt about it. Reframe your thoughts. Always remember to hang on to those positive emotions. Put everything in a positive light that you can, and avoid the negative thoughts and emotions because they can tear you down. They can limit your thinking ability. They can confuse you and upset you. So when you're thinking positive, you're relaxed, you can see options, you can see a way forward. And again, it ties into that avoid negativity. Negativity just puts a clamp on your mind. You can't think clearly. It's contagious more than positivity. It is very contagious. So avoid that. And I like this here, express gratitude. If each day we can think about things we appreciate, we give thanks for, find the positive, the beauty, things we enjoy, what's important to us, what brings us peace. Think about those things and express gratitude each day. And, resilient people, they do take care of their health. And when when we talk health, let's get real. We're talking physical health and our emotional health. All of that ties together. So, you want to do things. Well, I'm sure we'll hear about it, but eat, work out, take care of our health and our emotional health. Okay, whatever it takes, do it. Spend time on your interests. What's important to you? What do you enjoy? What brings you peace and satisfaction and happiness, man? So spend time on those. Don't let life roll over top of you and you lose sight of things that you enjoy. And, as you move forward, I love this learning and growing and evolving. That's resilience at its finest. So learn from every situation. When you find things that work, things that help, embrace that, build on it, analyze it, and that's a tool for the tool belt. And then keep learning. You can work on developing those coping strategies. You can read or take some more of our trainings on these life skill trainings, building self-esteem, self-confidence, managing stress. All these things are things that can help and you can build on. So, and again, ask for help when you need it, man. Sometimes people struggle and it's not easy. So always ask for that help. And and sometimes it start with a good friend, someone who understands. Sometimes it's professional. And one last thing I want to say here. I was looking at some information recently about, and I've actually done this, so I know it works. Find people in your family or your friends where you can do check-ins. We're going to check in periodically, especially during challenging times, holidays, whenever, or when something distressful is going on. But we're going to check in about how are you feeling, what's going on, and you're really going to have someone who listens. You want to know what the person's feeling so you can support them. And it's back and forth. It's a two-way street. Both people can do it. So have family members that agree to do that, or good friends, someone that can do it. If you can't find that, then find someone professional who can do that with you. I'm going to turn it over to Renee. Renee, you're great. Love being with you all the time.
All right. Thank you, Alan. Can you hear me?
I can.
Perfect. Sorry, I thought you all couldn't hear me. So let me share my screen again. Perfect. And so Alan has talked about that resiliency, building resiliency, paying attention to your emotions. We wanted to make sure we touched on seasonal affective disorder, because that is a physical disorder that has emotional manifestations. And so we want to make sure you're aware of this. And so let's talk a little bit about what it is. First of all, about 5% of the population experiences this. The majority of those are women. We don't know why this is so. And usually it becomes enough of a pattern that people are diagnosed somewhere between the ages of 20 and 30. They've also found that babies who are born in summer months are more likely to experience seasonal affective disorder than those born in winter months. And they think that's because you've sort of set the bar for that, for the sunlight that the child is exposed to. And so those born in summer months are used to having more of that sunlight, because with that sunlight, it increases their serotonin levels. It puts that baseline pretty high. And so during the winter months, they experience a lower level, and therefore it lowers their serotonin levels. It also can increase melatonin, which affects your mood and sleep. And that, of course, can also, the circadian rhythm, that's a fancy way of saying your body's sleep pattern. And so what we want to make sure we're doing is looking for those symptoms. So people who experience seasonal affective disorder will notice that this happens around the same time every year. And I want to give you a caveat to this, because also these symptoms can also be seen in people who have maybe experienced grief at the same time period. So I'll give you a little story. A number of years ago, a woman came to me and she was concerned because she was just so sad. This was in the beginning of, late October. She couldn't figure out why she was so sad. And so we started talking, and through our courses of our conversations, it became apparent that she had experienced significant loss in the fall every year, fall and then through the holiday season. And so what she was actually experiencing was just prolonged grief. And so she ended up seeing a therapist and now doesn't experience that deep sadness anymore. She sort of honors the people that she lost during that period. But for people with seasonal affective disorder, it really is more about that light. And so people sometimes will go to therapists thinking that it's, grief or they're depressed or something. But it turns out that a lot of it is actually due to seasonal affective disorder for that 5% of the population. So if you or people are experiencing these symptoms like anxiety, mood changes, overeating or undereating, sexual problems, depression, anything, always sort of in the fall of the year as we're approaching the winter, it would be a great thing for them to try to, see if it is seasonal affective disorder. So things that can help: exercise, getting that blood moving, getting those endorphins going, meditation to help get calm. Being outside will help expose you to sunlight. They say everyone needs at least 10 minutes of sunlight a day. For those with seasonal affective disorder, they're going to need more than that. I would say even probably twice that. Sticking to a schedule can also help. Travel if you can. They're meaning they are, going more toward the equator, getting to a place that has more sunlight. And the last, and probably what a lot of people do with seasonal affective disorder, is actually light therapy. And that is a specific light box. It has a certain light bulb in it that will mimic sunlight. Now, I have to tell you a story on this as well. One of my friends at the job I used to work has seasonal affective disorder. And so she has a light box. And we were talking about that. And she's told me that she was, she wished that she used it more frequently or more regularly, is actually what she said. And I said, well, why don't you just bring it here to work and we'll put it in a little room and then people can just go and sit in front of it. And she started laughing. She said, Renee, that's not how it works. It isn't like you just have to get it anytime. For those with seasonal affective disorder, the best time for that light therapy is first thing in the morning. So they are instructed to get up, to get their tea or coffee, sit in a nice place in front of this light box for, whatever the prescribed amount of time is. My friend has 20 minutes in front of the light box. She said, if I were to do that in the afternoon, then I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. So for those of you who see this pattern of, or have friends that have this pattern of seasonal affective disorder, those symptoms, it would be great to see if light therapy would help them. Next, we want to talk about self-care. And, Alan might be the big proponent of resiliency. I am as well. But self-care for me is so important. I probably first thought about self-care the first time I flew on an airplane. When the flight attendant said, if oxygen masks fall from the ceiling, make sure you put yours on first before helping anyone else. It really is true that we will only decrease our stamina, our ability to help. It's like sort of draining the tank. If we continue to only help others, our tank drains much more quickly, and then we won't be able to help. Okay. So thinking about self-care, I want you all to practice saying no. I don't know if you all are people pleasers. I've had to work hard on this. Of course I have an extra 5 minutes. Of course I'll do that for you. It is wonderful to say no. And I also invite you not to give a reason. Just be comfortable saying, no, I can't do that at this time. You don't really have to apologize. You don't have to say, oh, but I'll do this for you instead. Just feel comfortable saying no. At this point, I have to say no. Okay. Step 2 in your recipe is to be kind to your wallet. Sometimes people call this retail therapy. And it's only retail therapy. It's only positive, probably when you're there actually in line buying it and bringing it home. Then you have remorse that sets in usually. And then when you get your credit card bill or you wonder where all your cash went, then you realize what you've done. So be kind to your wallet. Understand that things usually aren't going to give you that feeling you want inside. We want to make connections with other people, connections with animals. We want to connect to the outdoors. That usually helps people sort of fill the void they're feeling. Step 3, know when to end unwanted conversations. I have to laugh. This brings me back to a story. When I was young, my middle sister always had to have the last word. And we would spend probably hours in a conversation that usually would end in an argument because I knew that she wanted to have the last word and I wasn't going to let her do that. Looking back on it now with a little more maturity, I realized that I could have stopped that conversation by just letting her have the last word because what does it really matter? All right. If you're in a conversation that is not feeding your soul. Now, I'm not talking about maybe somebody who's coming to you saying, look, I'm really worried about you because this is happening, or I've noticed this is happening. That's a different kind of conversation. But if they're having conversations about maybe what you've worn for the past 3 days and why you aren't, you should choose other clothing, that to me would be like an unwanted conversation. Feel free to come up with a reason. Hey, so happy to be able to touch base with you, but I have to go do this thing now. End the conversation. If you're on the telephone, hey, oh, sorry, somebody needs to ask me a question. I'll talk to you later. Okay. So you aren't just hanging up on them, but understand when a conversation starts draining you, you don't need to stay in it. Okay. If you want to be a little more advanced, you could try changing the topic of the conversation, but otherwise feel free just to end it. Step 4 is honoring those who have passed on. And I already touched on this briefly with my friend who was experiencing grief. One of our largest fears is that the people who have left, who are no longer here, will be forgotten. And so we want to make sure that we honor those in some way. So if there is a holiday tradition, honor that holiday tradition. If it's going to the cemetery, or if it's writing a letter that you never sent or send, feel free to do that. We want to do that to process that grief. Okay. All right. And step 5, don't be alone if you don't want to. Okay. First off, I need to make it clear that being alone and being lonely are 2 different things. Okay. If you are, some people don't know this about me, but I am an introvert. I gain my energy from being by myself. Right. But that doesn't mean I'm going to spend 24/7 by myself. In fact, in all likelihood, I really only need about 15 or 20 minutes of being by myself to recharge my engines. But understand the difference between alone and lonely. One of my friends loves this holiday season because she loves decorating, but she wants to do it by herself because things go in certain places. I tried helping once, and then she finally said, I don't really need your help on this. Okay, so feel free to be alone, but if you are feeling lonely, go join something. You could look at the Path Foundation website has a great thing on volunteering. There are plenty of volunteer opportunities on that. Go volunteer, go connect, create connections. Okay. Join a book club, do something like that, or just call a friend. And I have to tell you, a lot of people that I've been talking to recently, I've done some presentations at my last presentation was at a senior center, and I was talking with them, and they were saying, but I don't always want to reach out because maybe they're busy. You have to understand, if you are having feelings of loneliness, I guarantee that there are people you know that are having those same feelings. So reach out, connect. It's a great time right now to connect, because around the holiday season, we're always, sort of reaching out to people we haven't heard from. And then finally, in step 6, in a season of giving to others, make sure you make time for yourself. So talking about time, don't overschedule. It is wonderful to have things to do, but you do need to take care of yourself as well. And so whether that's you're so busy you need to schedule, actually put in your calendar time for yourself, do it, because it'll make your holiday season less stressful and feed your soul more.
Hey, Renee, can I slide one thing in? I don't
Sure.
ever like to interrupt you, but I love what you're saying. And I just wanted to emphasize, I love that mindset of us continuing to be gatekeepers, keeping an eye on people, caring about other people, understanding what they might be going through, and approaching people. What are you feeling? What are you experiencing? How are you getting along? And I'll tell you, if you're lonely, become a listener. Listen to somebody, you'll have more friends and people, and because nobody listens to anybody, nobody feels understood. So if you listen to somebody, you're going to connect. You care about people, you're going to connect. And you know what? You never know what you might find, because I like this concept that we do grieve when the holidays come. We think about people that are no longer with us, and people can get worked up. They can have this holiday blues, or they want it to be like this, and so is not here. So we need to be alert to that and always ask, what are you feeling? What are you understanding? And when it might ease in from blues to depression, we'll take other steps. But anyway, sorry to jump in, but you're doing great, Renee. Love you, man.
Alan, that's great. In fact, Craig just posted, the Hospice of the Piedmont is offering a free online holiday grief workshop on Wednesday, December 7th from 6 to 7. If you are interested in participating, please send him an email and he will send you the Zoom link. So that's in the chat if anyone is interested.
Yep. Craig and Liz, they all do good work with groups. And so we're lucky to have you guys.
All right. Next, we're going to go on to resources for mental merrymaking. I even like saying that. It's very peppy. Okay, so the Mental Health Association of Fauquier's website has a wonderful provider network on it, provider search engine. So if you are, after we've talked about this, if you're thinking that maybe it would be great for you to reach out to a counselor of some form, a therapist, you can go right on our website and put in your particulars, and it will give you a list of mental health providers in our area that can help you through whatever challenge you're going through. The next is Nami, the National Alliance for Mental Illness. They have great online and in-person support groups. Again, you can look at their website and it will give you great information of what's around. They are also fabulous if you are concerned about a loved one or a friend. You can reach out to them, and also they will help you sort of tackle that conversation. We also have Rappahannock Rapidan Community Services. I have to tell you a funny little story here. So I have been with the Mental Health Association for a little over a year now. And when I first heard about the warm line, I know what a hotline is, a crisis line, right? When I heard about the warm line, I thought it was for people who might be homeless or, they'd run out of heating oil. And so I was like, wow, it's really funny that they keep putting this like right under the crisis line. But I guess, it is a crisis if you don't have heat in the winter. Well, then when I finally read about it, it was like, oh, okay. The warm line is for people who aren't in crisis yet, but just would benefit from a conversation. So the warm line is staffed by peers, and they go through special training, but they are available to listen and to help. And that can be to talk about something that's going on for yourself or maybe someone else you care about. And so that number is 833-626-1490. For those of you who are more comfortable texting, there is a national text line, 741-741. I know younger people, I'm stereotyping, but younger people are more likely to text than call. And there are people at 741-741 because I've tried it myself just to make sure there was somebody there. Okay. So other ways of taking care of yourself, the Fauquier Trails Coalition. So there are wonderful trails here in Fauquier County and in our surrounding area. Again, for seasonal affective disorder, for anxiety, for depression, we all know that getting outside, getting moving helps. And so, even if it's just 10 minutes, walking outside, especially on a day like today or tomorrow, when the sun is out and it's supposed to be a little warmer, great way of taking care of yourself. Some people have found help with the blue room light therapy. That's here in Fauquier. I haven't tried that yet. And then the Piedmont Dispute Resolution Center. When we're talking about conflict resolution, they are a great resource. If you are continuing to experience some sort of conflict, they have mediators there. They also have a peace building program that works to address issues, concerns before they become crises. And finally, there are other grounding techniques. So Alan took you through that 3 breaths and then a positive thought and then 3 breaths again. There's also belly breathing. Let's see if these guys are going to work. They're not working today. But belly breathing, you want to, even in a chair, you can do it standing up. You want to ground your feet, put them flat on the floor. And instead of breathing through our chest, we want to breathe and push our belly out as we do to really inflate our lungs as much as possible. In that 3 breath method that Alan was talking about, you can use the belly breathing as well, but that also helps to calm the body. It decreases anxiety within the central nervous system. All right. Other grounding exercises, you can put your feet on the ground and try to really push into the ground as you breathe up through your body. Sensory distraction. So sometimes when you're in a situation where maybe closing your eyes and breathing 3 times and having a positive moment or positive thought and then breathing again might attract attention. Say you're in the middle of a party, people would be like, what is going on with that person? Feel free then to go, maybe to the bathroom and do your breathing there. But if you can't do that, anything that will give you a sensory distraction. So that could be popping a piece of candy in your mouth, that taste, a change in taste, the smell of lotion. Here in my office, there is a lotion that smells like coconut and I love it. And so when I need it like to sort of reframe, I go and put the lotion on. Music always helps. I would encourage you to find uplifting music. Sometimes when you need uplifting music, it's hard to find it, but find music that feeds your soul. And then of course, art. Now, art is great if you take out that judgment, right? None of us need to be a perfect artist. It is fine to slop some paint around. It is fine to go paint pottery. Don't expect yourself to be a master. I think it's 10,000 hours you need to do something before you're a master. So understand if you're just using this to ground yourself, there's no way you're going to have 10,000 hours to be perfect, right? So just allow yourself to freely express yourself. Okay, wait, we have some in the chat. Okay. Oh, cool. And so they're just talking about the blue room, but you all can read the chat. All right. Perfect. And so we want to make sure we wish you a mentally merry holiday season. Our contact information is there. I am going to stop sharing right now, and so we can take questions. Any questions or concerns? Sure, Ginger.
Yeah, there's a lot of good information in the chat, and they've updated Zoom. So if you click inside the chat, just one of the things like Craig is, you left click there, and then you right click. It'll give you an opportunity to select everything that's in the chat.
Oh, nice.
So you click on that, and then you left click again. Oh, shucks. This one's not working. I picked up most of the chat that you had before.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, but keep in mind that often works, that you're able to click inside the chat, right click, select all, right click again, and copy it. And then you copy it, and when you get done with the session, you go into your Microsoft Word and you paste that baby.
Thank you, Ginger. All right, I'm
Yeah.
going to stop recording now so that nobody needs to